Hey, welcome back to my playlist, Permanently Filipino. This is where I'm trying to compile as much information as I possibly can about my journey trying to become a dual citizen in the Philippines. Now, just as a review, I was born in the Philippines, Angeles, Pampanga. I was adopted. In my mind, I was adopted before I was born. Paperwork, everything was signed. My American parents whisked me away as soon as I was born, naturalized in the United States, and then, lived there for many years, coming back and wanting to become a dual citizen, and realizing that this birth certificate could be everything you could ever need to become a dual citizen. Could, or put you on a roller coaster ride, which I've been on a roller coaster ride for 4 years, August 2020 to this point, August 2024. And I guess that's why I decided to create this playlist, because when I was doing research for myself, I couldn't find anything. There's no article, and if you know of an article, please put it in the comments. There's no YouTube video out there. People talk about trying to get dual citizenship. People talk about becoming a permanent resident. People talk about getting different types of visas, right? They talk about that, but there's nothing about my scenario of a former Filipino who's naturalized in another country wanting to become a dual citizen. I mean, nothing. Literally nothing. Okay, so as I mentioned in my last video, it was like the best thing for me to ever receive this birth certificate. I was so super excited, and it made me just over the moon, knowing that moving to the Philippines as a retiree and just living the rest of my life there was a dream come true, a dream that I initially started having at the age of 13. This video will focus on everything that I did the moment my husband and I decided to retire to the Philippines. So, becoming a recognized Filipino while living in the United States was the start of my roller coaster ride. Let's just do that. So initially, after we decided to retire, I needed to make sure I started completing my paperwork for the last 6 months of my 30-year teaching career so that I was officially retired. So that was my main focus initially. So in my last video, I said that I had gotten my birth certificate in the summer and it took 2 to 3 months. It didn't. I actually started January 2021, applied on PSA Servilis to get my birth certificate, and it did not take 2 to 3 months. Through FedEx, it took 15 days. Okay, 15 days, that's it. So once I got my birth certificate, I just really started the process. I called the Bureau of Immigration, the main office in Manila, and that was a complete fail, because number one, the person I talked to did not know enough English, and I knew no Tagalog for us to be able to communicate effectively. Fast forward to today, if I would have just contacted them through Facebook Messenger, I could have saved myself a lot of heartache, but didn't know that, and I'm hard-headed. So instead, I decided to email them. I mean, who would have thought Facebook Messenger would have been the best route? No. Trying to go through a labyrinth of bureaucracy, I'm thinking phone call, email, meeting, all of that, and during the pandemic. Anyway, so I emailed the Bureau of Immigration, and they did respond to me with this letter. Now, before I emailed them, I had also gone through their checklist. They did a beautiful job giving me the instructions of what to do, a nice checklist, and then also the fees. Now, the reason why I was calling them and emailing them was because of this checklist. It was number 3, photocopy of the parent's valid passport. I had no idea. I just learned on my birth certificate the name of my biological mother. And now they wanted a passport. I don't even know if she has a passport. I had no idea. So again, phone call didn't work, emailing them, and they did respond. I sent this email on February 9th, they even mentioned it, and received their response on March 24th. And basically, according to them, I needed my birth mother's birth certificate. Okay, check. If I don't have information about her, I need an affidavit of citizenship to prove that she's Filipino. Okay? And then they also mentioned having an online evaluation. To be honest, I did not do an online evaluation. I decided my little hard-headed self was going to get information about my birth mother, because that honestly was really interesting to me. I wanted to find out as much information about my birth mother as I possibly could. So I went that route. I didn't even bother with an online evaluation. And I also thought, because of the pandemic, with the closures and everything, how much was I really going to be able to contact anybody? So I just didn't even consider that. So the remaining of 2021 was really dealing with all of the closures, finalizing my retirement, contacting the Embassy of the Philippines in Chicago. So I'm thinking, let's deal with stuff that I can deal with within the United States. Let's see if I can take care of it. So throughout all of that, my husband and I moved from West Michigan to Detroit. We started taking care of his parents, my in-laws, to make sure that they were taken care of. They had their systems in place. So when we moved to the Philippines, we didn't have to worry about them. I decided to take a part-time job because things started opening up and I really missed being around people. I was teaching virtually because I have an online tutoring business, but I wanted to be around people. So I worked part-time at Kohl's. I was an Amazon delivery driver, and I did a lot of volunteer work at the Detroit Zoo, Belle Isle Aquarium, Anna Scripps Conservatory, Mittens for Detroit, and Knit Michigan, which created care packages for cancer patients. So I was pretty busy throughout 2021 because I basically learned from the Bureau of Immigration there's not much you can do if you don't have your birth mother's information. And to be honest, I went on PSA Servilis to get my birth mother's information. All I had was her name, all I had was her age, and according to the website, you need her birth date. I did not receive her birth date on my birth certificate. So that's why 2021, I was pretty much stuck, not being able to do much in regards to becoming a recognized Filipino. I had contacted or sent an email. I tried to call and I sent an email to the Embassy of the Philippines in Chicago. No return phone call, no emails. They were basically closed down as well. They were, according to them, there was very limited contact on anything. But I was patient and I just decided to wait for them and hear a response from them. That's my thinking, okay? Then, February 2022, the Philippines opened up. And talk about, okay, before, just taking care of business in the United States, once the Philippines opened up, and then watching people post videos about being in the Philippines and living in the Philippines, like everything just ramped up even more for me to, okay, I need to find out what do I need to do to become a recognized Filipino, because it's now been a year and nothing has happened. I've heard from, other than the Bureau of Immigration, thank you so much, that I need more information. But not hearing from the Embassy of the Philippines in Chicago was a bit concerning. So I sent them another email, and I tried calling again the spring of 2022. And I did receive a response that it was going to take a number of months for them to actually look over my information and then give me a reply. So the summer of 2022 was basically a waiting game for me, because I really believed I needed to become a recognized Filipino before we left for the Philippines. I didn't want to have to deal with visas, to be honest with you. I wanted it to be just a nice, seamless transition from the United States to the Philippines. So I was patient, and we had plenty of things to do in the United States, which I'm going to post another video about. How do you move from one country to another country? And note that I've never visited the Philippines as an adult. So that's a whole nother animal, okay? Anyway, August 2022, I received a phone call finally from somebody from the Philippines and the Embassy of the Philippines in Chicago. And basically they said, we can't help you. You actually have to go to the Philippines to take care of this. Everything that I needed answered, everything that I needed to process my application was going to happen in the Philippines. Okay, fine. That at least answered that question. So that told me I need more help, because I still, up to that point, 2022, I still did not have, still wasn't any closer to becoming recognized as a Filipino. So my husband and I had been doing research on some agencies, and we found JRC, who actually has a YouTube channel and is very active in posting information about visas and different types of visas that expats, foreigners, can apply for. And I went onto their website and found out they did online consultation. So of course I signed up for it. Be mindful, you have a 12 to 13 hour difference depending upon where you are in the Midwest. So the first meeting didn't happen. They were at the first meeting. I was not, because the time changed. According to them, it was still 4 a.m. for me. And it's like, that's not when I scheduled the meeting. So anyway, keep that in mind, because it happens. So that was the best meeting I could have ever had in regards to my process. The best meeting, because one of the things that I learned was you need an apostle for all of your documents. And I definitely wanted to make sure, one moment please. Welcome back. I'm going to be honest with you, and I apologize for doing this. I'm not a fan of piecemealing my videos, especially when I'm talking to my camera. However, normally I don't hear crows or dogs. And the first part of this video, the crow was going crazy. And when I stopped the first part of the video, the dogs were just ramping up. And typically, again, I don't hear them except if I'm recording, or if I'm on video, or if I'm talking on the phone, something like that, because then I start worrying about the noise and if anyone can hear me or not. So anyway, I apologize for cutting off, but I don't apologize for the crows or the dogs, because that is just the way of life in the Philippines. Anyway, back to my story about the embassy turning me down. That was my second attempt at trying to become a recognized Filipino. The Bureau of Immigration in Manila basically said, based on what they received, they can't help me. That was my first attempt. I could not become a recognized Filipino. After waiting close to a year and a half, the Embassy of the Philippines basically told me they could not help me become a recognized Filipino. So 2 attempts shut down. Of course, my hard-headed self thinks, what more can I do? So my husband and I, of course, especially when the Philippines opened up, February 2022, we were just watching videos about all these people going to the Philippines finally and just enjoying the Philippines. Talk about being jealous, okay? One of the videos, or the people that we found from those videos, was JRC. And I am not advertising for JRC, but in one way, I could easily advertise for them because they're the agency that we're using, and they have given us the best information, and I'm absolutely grateful for everything that they've done on my behalf throughout this entire roller coaster of trying to become recognized as a Filipino, getting my dual citizenship, and beyond. Anyway, they had, according to their website, an online consultation. And for 30 minutes, for $50, they would be able to answer any questions that you would have. And of course, the teacher and me had to prepare a huge presentation of everything that I had done over the past 2 years and how everything that I had done was not good enough. Yes, you are enough, but was not good enough to become recognized while living in the Philippines. So if we are going to the Philippines, my question to Kervin from Cebu, what did I have to do? What more can I do to become recognized as a Filipino? And he gave me the best advice that I could have received. And it was, get an apostle for all of your documents. Any document that you can get an apostle for, get it. And I did. So that meeting was the end of August 2022. The very next week, I had to make sure that the Great Seal was going to be available because he only had certain hours. So the next week, my husband and I went to Lansing, Michigan to get an apostle for all of my documents. Every single document I had that the state of Michigan could give me an apostle for, they did, except one. My adoption papers. And I'm thinking the one piece of documentation that I really needed to have an apostle for, couldn't get one. And the reason why, it was too old. It was the original document, my original document from the 1960s, okay? So I had to then go back home, contact the county probate court to get documentation indicating, affirming that my original document is true, that they could attest that this is true. So once I received an updated document indicating, yes, I was adopted in 1966 specifically, then take that document to the Great Seal to then get an apostle. So that was done. By the end of September, I had everything that I needed to, number one, be able to present it to the Bureau of Immigration in the Philippines and say, this is everything to prove who I am, okay? The other thing that Kervin suggested was how to write my affidavit of citizenship. And within it, talk about, I have no idea the whereabouts of my biological mother. And the Great Seal also gave me an apostle for that. So that was really helpful. Those two pieces of information from him was just a lifesaver. It saved me so much time and heartache when I came to the Philippines. You can't even imagine. That is maybe the best. I don't even know how many times I can say it was the best piece of information I could have received, honestly. So from August 2022 all the way until November 2023, when we officially arrived in the Philippines, my focus was understanding the travel requirements, understanding how I was going to use my Balikbayan visa, understanding the Balikbayan visa itself, which means traveling to the Philippines just using my birth certificate so that I had a year visa. That's a whole nother conversation. We'll talk about that, because you're going to have hell when you deal with airports. It's just a whole nother thing. Making sure I had multiple physical copies of all of my documentation, and then basically how we prepared for the move. That, and how we were going to prepare for the move, and making sure that my in-laws were going to be all set. And it was a big year. That last year in the United States was a really big year. So my next video is going to talk about that and everything that my husband and I did to prepare for that. So I really appreciate you hanging in there and listening to everything I had to share, and I'll catch you later. Have a good one.